Let's go to Jacques Reland. He's a senior research fellow at Global Policy Institute. He joins me now from Saint Malo in France. Many thanks for your time. There have been some gushing congratulatory messages from several European leaders on social media to Trump's victory. A sign, perhaps, do you think, that Europe is hoping to maintain a friendly relationship with the new Trump administration? Is that too much to hope for?
They're hoping, but they're afraid. They're very afraid by candidate Trump's declarations, and they're hoping that once he's the president, he might not put his money where his mouth was, that he might be a bit more willing to compromise with Europe. Europe is at a crossroads now. They think that a Trump presidency could have a very negative impact in three sectors: Ukraine, NATO and European defense, and obviously trade and the economy.
And given most European economies are lagging well behind the United States and China in terms of innovation, investment, even productivity, if Trump does hit Europe with those prohibitive tariffs, as he has threatened to do, how will European nations fare?
They will fare badly, but Europe is already faring very badly. As you say, it's lagging behind in terms of productivity, creativity, and so on. But the thing is that Europe remains the main market in the world, whether for America or for China. 500 million people with a fairly high level of purchasing power compared to 330 million. So the Europeans will have a way to retaliate against American industrial exports.
And talking of retaliation, if it does come down to a tariff dispute, do you think all the 27 EU states are likely to toe a common line, or could we see countries breaking out for themselves and their own interests?
That's the big question, and that's very likely. You can see that many countries will have to try to establish good bilateral relations with Trump, and that's clear that people like Meloni, Orban, obviously the great supporter of both Trump and Putin, is becoming a key man in Europe, but you have many countries who will be tempted to make deals at the expense of developing a united European front. But the other big question is what happens to defense. Many European countries now are shaking in their boots at the idea that Uncle Sam will no longer be willing to protect them under its nuclear and armaments umbrella. So now it's a big time for Europe, and the big issue for Europe is to decide how to guarantee its security without any guarantees from the US to come to its rescue in case of attack.
So do you think that that could be the silver lining, that Trump's victory does jolt European states into doing more collectively for defense?
Indeed, that's what's happening, and that's what Macron, for example, President Macron has been calling for a long time since he's been in power. But even that, General de Gaulle used to say that America will not always be there to protect Europe, and Europe have to try to develop the big key word now, strategic autonomy, but with the capacity. Europe is not today in a position to defend itself because industrially, technically, and in terms of new weapons and big weapons, it lags way behind. It still needs US military in order to defend US military equipment, and therefore collaboration, because many of the equipments are American and require American permission for use. And therefore, yes, now people like Macron are hoping that it will be a wake-up call for Europe, and they decide to have a strong integrated European defense policy, which means also a strong procurement policy, because the problem in Europe is spending a fair amount of money, has loads of armaments companies, but they're all competing with each other. It is time to streamline the European procurement supply, and therefore to make companies which up to now have been rivals. You know, there's many plane makers, bomb makers, tank makers in Europe. There's lots of duplication, and all the money which is spent, there's hope that maybe at some point they will be able to integrate it into a coherent defense industry.
Very interesting to get your perspective. Jacques Reland, Senior Research Fellow at Global Policy Institute, talking to us there from Saint Malo.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.